Hi friends, welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee and today I'm going to teach you how to make roasted bone broth. This is actually a three-part video series where we are going to make French onion soup in homemade bread bowls. And so I'm going to teach you how to make the bone broth today. This is going to be the base for the soup. And then the next one I'm going to teach you how to make the bread bowls. And then the one after that we will put it together and make the French onion soup. And it's going to be so rich and decadent and just absolutely delicious and incredibly nutritious. And what better way to bless your loved one than to provide a beautiful homemade scratch dinner for them. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the bone broth. If you've never made bone broth before, it's actually very easy. It takes a while, but it's not a lot of hands-on time. So to start, we're going to preheat our oven to 425 degrees. Next, let's talk about the bones. So here I have 7 pounds of bones, and we'll talk about the ratios here in a little bit. You can use whatever amount of bones you have. And as you can see, these are actually labeled soup bones. We're going to use them to make broth. And here's what you're looking for. You want bones that still have meat on them, and very clearly this does, right? This has quite a bit of meat on it. And then you want the bones to have this white center. Do you see all of this in here? This is all marrow. That is very nutritious, and you definitely want all of that in your broth. And then it also, having this piece of meat here is going to have a lot of collagen and a lot of other just really great nutritious bits that you want in your broth. So most of my pieces look like that one. Here I've got this stack here has more kind of like bits and doodads and different things, but you can see here there's still a lot of bone that has center here. A lot of it here. This is all really great for the broth. So here I have a roasting pan, one like you would make a turkey in. So I'm just going to lay out, it's going to be kind of a tight fit getting all of this in here. Mind you, this came out of my deep freeze. This is not perfectly thawed, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. The reason I decided to split these videos up into 3 parts, because I absolutely could have made this all one video, is because knowing how to make beef broth from scratch and knowing how to make these bread bowls from scratch are both excellent just on their own, even if you weren't going to be making them into French onion soup. So I figured I would make those individual videos so that you guys can very easily reference back to them in the future if you decide that you want to do either of those things, even without making the end goal dish, which is the French onion soup. All right, these are not, they fit well enough. This is going to be amazing broth. Look at this. Oh my gosh. All right, the next thing that we want to do is rub these down with oil, and then we want to add a little bit of salt. So first, I'm just going to go through and drizzle these with a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to get in here and make sure that they are both sides rubbed down with the oil. All right, and then making its first ever debut on my channel, my new salt dish. I got it at a flea market when I went to Florida. So cute. Ah! All right, so we are going to go ahead and sprinkle these pretty generously with salt. All right, and then once our oven is preheated to 425 degrees, almost, we are going to go ahead and get these in there for 30 minutes. All right, you guys, so I actually, because these were frozen, I ended up keeping them in there for 45 minutes, so now we're going to take them out of the oven. Yum. Oh my gosh. Now, using a pair of tongs, I'm actually going to just flip each piece of meat over. And then I'm going to add my onions and my carrots. And you could also do celery. I never have celery, so I never add it. And I'm only doing, I think I've got 3 carrots and 2 onions. And that's fine. Just anytime you're making broth, just use whatever you have. There's no hard, fast rule. If you have a lot of onions, a lot of carrots, use them. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to put this back into the oven and roast it for an additional 30 minutes. Now here's how you determine how much water you need. So for every, so you take your total pounds and you subtract 1, and that's how many quarts you need. So I have 7 pounds of meat, so I want 6 quarts of water. There are 4 cups in a quart. 4 times 6 is 24, so I need 24 cups of water. I've got a big stock pot here. This is what I make all of my broth in, and I have a big 8-cup Pyrex measuring dish. And so I'm going to go ahead and get 24 cups of water in my pot. Okay, I have 4 of my 6 quarts of water in here, 2 quarts left out, and I will show you why. Let me go ahead and clear everything off of my stove here. I'm going to go ahead and get the pot turned on so it can be warming up. And then I want to go ahead and get my roasting dish out of the oven. That is just pure happiness right there. All right, I'm gonna get my apron back on here. And then what we're gonna do, we are gonna go ahead and move our meat into our stock pot. Oh my gosh, amazing. Smells so good. Okay, perfect. And we can get our onions and our carrots in there too. Oh yeah. Now here's why we reserved 2 quarts of water. We are going to add that water into our roasting dish. And then I'm going to kind of give this rack a little shake. I'm not sure, this thing's not meant for the stovetop, but it's just going to have to do because I got to keep this heated up. Because look at all of that lovely fat that's getting caught on there. I don't want that. So let's see if I can, you know what I should have done? I should have boiled that water first and then put it in. That would have been the smart thing to do. Yeah, because all of that goodness right there, I want that. That is yummy, delicious fat, and I don't want it to get left behind. Yeah, I'm worried about that being on the flame. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back into the oven. It's still heated to 425 degrees, and I'm going to get this water in this roasting pan nice and hot, because the reason we're doing this is because all of those delicious bits in there we want in our broth. And you know, I didn't even need to use the rack. I should have taken the rack out. That's what's tripping me up here, but that's okay. It's just creating an extra step. In the meantime, we've got this heating up over here, and that looks great. Really important little piece of information for you here. I have a video up on my channel teaching you how to make chicken broth. I did not know this yet when I made that video, so I actually think I need to remake that video because this is very important. Do you see how it is kind of moving around on its own? Like look right here. Do you see how that's kind of moving about on its own? This is not boiling. It's still coming up to temperature, and I will bring it up to a boil for literally just a second. Just a second. And then I'm immediately going to turn it down to just this. Just a soft simmer. Just enough to keep things percolating in the pot, kind of moving around. Do you see? Do you see how things are moving on their own? That's beautiful. That's perfect. You do not want to keep your broth on a boil. I did not know this, and so I pretty much tell you in the chicken stock video to boil it. And what happens is if you boil it too hot for too long, you break the, how do I say this? You break the collagen, I think is the right way to phrase it. Basically, what keeps your broth really thick and like jello-y when you, I guess the gelatin, then you break the gelatin. When it's cold, what keeps it nice and like thick and gelatin-like, if you boil it too hot for too long, that breaks. The nutrition is still there, so it's fine. It's just an aesthetic thing. But so many of us want that really thick, gelatinous, beautiful broth. And if you boil it for too long, you won't have that. It'll break. The gelatin will break. So I needed to share that with you guys. What you have here with the contents of the pot kind of percolating around and moving around on their own, that's beautiful. That's what you want to keep it at. You do not want to keep it at a boil. All right, so I've got my stock pot on the stove warming up. This water is now nice and warm, which is perfect. So, going back to what I was doing, I'm going to take my tongs and just kind of, I should not have used this rack. So there's going to be some little bits stuck on it here. And that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I'm keeping an eye on this because like I just said, I don't want it to like boil. I'm just letting it come up to temperature. And it's looking like it's going to boil any second. I'm going to take my whisk and I'm basically deglazing the bottom of my roasting pan. I can feel my whisk getting caught on all those little brown bits that are in the bottom, and those brown bits are pure flavor. Roasted beef broth goodness, and you want every single bit of that in your broth. Now let me show you what I mean. So this is what's come out of the roasting pan. Look at that. That is amazing. That has so much just nutrition and flavor, so much good stuff from when we roasted those bones, and I want all of that in my broth. So that was the purpose of doing that. I kind of screwed it up a little bit because I had that rack in there, and I added the cold water into it, so it made all the fat and stuff like harden and stick to the rack. So I had to put it in the oven to get it loosened back up again. This is boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. And so yeah, the whole purpose of adding the water into your roasting pan was to deglaze it, to get all of those roasty, tasty bits up and into the water. And then now I can take my oven mitts, be very careful, this is hot, and I can dump that right into my pot. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering thinking about how this broth is going to be turned into French onion soup. Not all of it. I don't need nearly all of it. And the rest we will talk about how we're going to preserve it. But yeah, thinking about this getting made into French onion soup is making my mouth water. I love making chicken broth, chicken stock, and I talk about it a lot on this channel because chicken stock is very easy to make. It's very versatile, and I cook a whole chicken either every week or every other week. So I'm able to make chicken stock a lot. I don't always have access to bones like this, and so I don't make beef broth as often. But if I could choose, I'd make beef broth over chicken broth every day of the week. This is insanely rich, delicious, chock full of nutrients from that bone marrow. Ugh, so, so good. And now we just let it go. You can keep this going for 24 hours. It's already 3 o'clock for me, so I'm probably only going to be able to let this go until about 9, and then I'm going to have to do something with it. Maybe even earlier than that because I'd like to film that and show you. But yeah, you're basically just letting this cook low and slow for as long as you possibly can. The longer, the better. I will say that if you are not able to cook it for a very long time, like I'm only going to be able to get like maybe 6 hours out of this, I'm not going to throw these bones away. Only cooking them for 6 hours is not getting the full potential out of these bones. I'm probably going to throw them in a big bag together and put them back in the freezer and include them in my next batch. If you were able to cook them for like 24 hours, you were able to really zap all of the nutrients out of them, and you can discard them, do whatever you want to do with them, put them outside, give them to animals. The chickens, I'm probably going to keep one of them out to give to the chickens because chickens love to clean bones. Ugh, it will be such a treat for them. So I'll probably do that. But I just wanted to mention that because these bones are really big and thick and really full of a lot of nutrients. And especially with me being on such a tight budget, I'm not letting that go to waste. I can make a second smaller batch of broth using these same bones because I'm only cooking them for the 6 hours today. I almost forgot to mention, some recipes will tell you to add a head of garlic. I don't ever add garlic to my broth. I don't prefer it. I like to keep my broth super versatile. Sometimes I don't even add any veggies. In this case, I did add the onions and the carrots, but I never ever add garlic, and that's totally a personal choice. You also may see various herbs mentioned across different beef broth recipes. The only herbs that I ever add to my broth are bay leaves. I really like the flavor that bay leaves give to a broth. You may also see thyme, you may see sage. I never add any of those. You can do absolutely whatever you want. And if you don't know, try different things out and see what you like and what you don't like. So I always do bay leaves and I don't ever add garlic, and I just wanted to mention that. So I'm just trying to deal with this broth. It's time for bed. I'm actually just recording on my phone and the kitchen's a mess behind me, but I wanted to show you something. I kept mentioning the bone marrow, and I want to show you that the bone marrow from inside these bones became soft and is now in our broth. And actually there was another bone in here where I could see the bone marrow and it was still in there and it was soft, and I ate it. I used my finger to push it out the other side and I ate the bone marrow from the inside. And that is filled with so much delicious, really, really good for you nutrition. Let me see if I can find another one. Oh, this was the one. I ate all that bone marrow out from inside of that. So there's a good example. This soft bit that's inside this bone right here, right there, that is bone marrow, and it is delicious. It's so good, and it's so good for you. And I have a friend who has a small daughter. She's like 8 months old, I think. And she was telling me that she makes bone broth and then feeds the marrow to her little baby daughter. And I'm like, you have no idea the way that you are helping nourish that little baby. So proud of you. Way to go, mama. That's great. And so I come on to my channel to say things like that because, you know, who would think that something like that would be so very nutritious for you? But I'm here to tell you it is, and it's very tasty too. Oh, behind me, you can see all I did, you didn't miss much. All I did was use a strainer to strain out the broth into the bowls behind me, and they're cooling a little bit before I put them in the fridge. So I'm going to finish up the beef broth video, and actually I have all the stuff out right now to go ahead and film the French onion soup video, but I just wanted to show you our beef broth. Look at how amazing and gelatinous that is. Oh my gosh, so good. That turned out amazing. It smells so good. Oh, the flavor is outstanding. And now I'm going to use this to make our French onion soup. So I hope that you guys found this helpful, because I really encourage you to be making roasted beef bone broth anyway. It's just a great skill. It's a great homesteading skill. It's a great preservation skill. But then to stay tuned and also use it to make this French onion soup recipe is going to be so delicious. And yeah, I really love this stuff. I love being in the kitchen with you guys. I love teaching you these skills and sharing this knowledge with you. And I love when we end up with a really nutritious, amazing, delicious product in the end. So thanks so much, you guys. Can't wait to see you in my next video. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye.